All right, folks, let's try this once again. Phil here from Beyond the Page with my co-host Martin here. Some technical difficulties, and so but we'll try this once again. Martin, quick review of course, the Manchester City game. Disappointing result in the sense that before the game, you were hoping United would go out there and win that game. It was a game that before it, despite how many players United were missing, and there were key players, let's be honest, you still felt Rashford, Martial's pace was going to worry City's back four. And I just felt that the one thing that was really missing from United, and I know I've given Pogba a really hard time recently, but I really think the creative midfielder to find Rashford in the channels, because I don't know how many times I saw him make brilliant runs that wasn't found, but that final pass, that creative talent, I know you rate Herrera, and obviously magnificent player, but I just think that creative talent in the middle of the park was missing for United tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're starting to see, for all those people who don't rate Pogba the way that the way that he should be rated, you really start to see what we lack when you don't have a Paul Pogba in your centre midfield. He provides that pace, he provides the power, the strength on the ball, and can then unlock the defence with a killer pass. Herrera is capable of that, but Herrera's got so many more defensive duties and he's covering every blade of grass these days. You can't ask him to do all that and then provide that that killer pass as well on a regular basis. Fellaini's not in there for that. We know he's not a passer of the ball. Carrick playing a lot deeper, just in front of that back two. You can't really rely on Carrick being able to spring defence into attack unless it's the big diagonal over the top. But like you said, Rashford first half for me is always a threat if we could have found him a little bit earlier. The amount of runs he makes, his runs so early as well, so early, and the likes of a Pogba with that footballing brain can find him early. The amount of times he made runs, had to stop his run, start again, and it was too late at that point. But yeah, definitely missed Pogba today. Definitely a game that the heart wants you to win. But I don't think Jose is going to be too disappointed. I think he got exactly what he wanted, and any more would have been a bonus.
Yeah, look, a point isn't. You'll take a point, especially United are a point behind City here. They win their game in hand, they go above Liverpool, so it's not the worst result in the world away from home against Man City. But there were a couple of things that annoyed me. First of all, there was a clear intent early on from Man City's centre-backs, back four, to put markers on the likes of Rashford and Martial, which for some reason Martin Atkinson missed them. And you saw clearly early on they were, and this is where these young players need to stand up and be counted. And to be fair, young Rashford's superb. He really does stand up and be counted. But I just felt Martin Atkinson in the first 10, 15 minutes of that game missed some really key moments where City were body checking United forwards going forward. We saw Otamendi do it quite cynically when Rashford was going over the top. Vincent Kompany did it. Kolarov did it. Zabaleta did it. And I just felt that if Atkinson had have took a stand on that early, we might have saw United, Rashford and Martial get a bit more freedom. Second half, Mourinho sat in deep and made sure that they didn't give the game away. Again, I said before I put out a tweet before the game, I said, it's really imperative that Marouane Fellaini doesn't do anything stupid in this game. How many times have we seen Fellaini do something stupid in a game where he's relied on and do what he did today? So stupid, not just today, but for the rest of the season when United are scraping the squad's paper thin, and he does that. Let everybody down, Martin.
It's ridiculous. I mean, and it just came out of nowhere. It really wasn't that type of game yet. It was good. There was big challenges flying in. There was Atkinson, like you said, I mean, he could have stamped that out earlier on. Rashford got kicked all over the park in the first 15, 20 minutes, going through the back of him. Fair enough. Okay, you're going to let that go, let it go. The first yellow on Fellaini, by no means defending him here, but the first yellow on Fellaini, I think it was the first yellow of the game. So, I mean, there was a lot worse went on than Fellaini's first one. But it's a nothing tackle. And then it was almost like he'd conceded he was going to get sent off at that point. Like the boys said on the TV after the game, that he has to initiate that headbutt. I mean, look, take out of it the fact that it's a great bit of acting by Aguero. There was contact. He did initiate a headbutt, and Aguero sold it. Doesn't escape from the fact it's a straight red, and then all his stuff after the red card could well find himself now with an extra game tagged onto that 3-match ban, and that is just utterly stupid at a time when we need to rely on him. He's been playing well, and by the way, he had a great first half. I thought he had a cracking first half. Second half, we got a little bit more stretched. But to do something like that, he's selfish and utterly brain dead. Because now, now you're going to see the likes of Foster and Mensah have to step in. There's very, very few options now moving forward the next 2 or 3 games. We don't know how long Pogba's gone. I assume he's going to be back for Sunday, but that's by no means clear cut. But like you say, with the injuries we have, and many of those long-term injuries, that's a big decision from him.
I felt there was a couple of people that were really important for United tonight, Martin. If they were going to win the game, I thought Martial was going to be really important. I thought Rashford was going to be really important. And I felt the creative midfielder was going to be really important, which to me made it all the more bizarre why Mourinho brought Pogba on at the weekend when he didn't need to do it. And also in that game, Marcus Rashford came very close to getting injured as well when he didn't need to do it. So to me, Pogba's absence tonight, Mourinho, you don't roll the dice you don't need to roll, right? Why? Why take unnecessary risks? He took an unnecessary risk with Pogba at the weekend when he didn't need to do it. Brings Pogba on the game. The game was already won. Gets injured. As we know, the law of Murphy, as someone once said, strikes and Pogba's missing. And of course, United don't have that in the midfield. They don't have another creative midfielder. In saying that, Martin, Michael Carrick has done enough to expect another year at this football club. Well, regardless of who United sign this summer, Michael Carrick has shown that in an injury crisis or whatever, you can still throw him in, and he's still more than capable of giving you something at this level.
Well, he's just proved again. He's a player now coming to, obviously, in the twilight of his career, coming to the end of his career. He's not going to play for anybody else if he doesn't get a contract extension. I think he'll hang it up. But I don't. I said it weeks and weeks ago. I don't know what the hold up is. He showed again today in a big game how key he is to playing the way United are going to want to play. Yes, it was a bit of a rearguard action today. Yeah, bodies behind the ball. But there's times going to come, that we're going to need. We're going to be. I would expect us to be more expansive next season once we get the players in that he wants to get in. Even more so, the likes of a Michael Carrick is key to sit and protect that back too. And again, absolutely superb again today. And I thought, on top of that, Eric Bailly behind him and Daley Blind, barring one mistake when he got caught 20 yards further up the pitch than he should have. I thought Blind and Bailly were super. It's hard to follow. You look at anybody barring Fellaini in that second half. It's hard to even criticise any of the United players. Individually, I thought tactically we did. We hadn't figured out. We stuck wide. Not until the last 7-8 minutes did we get beat around the back of our fullbacks and they get whipped crosses in. We filtered them through the middle, filtered them into our strong points. Didn't let the same gaps appear that happened in the first game. I thought tactically, we did a great job. You can look at the stats, you can look at the possession, and that's where you always say that you can look at stats any way you want to look at them. It was never going to be a game that United won the possession battle. Yeah. Jose is not a huge fan of the possession, as in, it's not the be-all and end-all like it is for some of the Spanish coaches, in the Spanish leagues where it's keep ball, keep ball, keep ball. A lot of the shots, I don't know what the final count was in shots, it's probably a lot to a little, but where were the majority of them were from 25, 30 yards from goal? How many saves did De Gea make? That were really going in. For me, defensively, superb. Just lacked a little bit of composure on the ball and lacked the ability to unlock the defence and to find Rashford all his great runs. And you've got to remember, there's a lot of miles on those legs for a lot of those United players now.
Yeah, but look, it was Liverpool Mark too. It was exactly the same performance we saw at Anfield. And sometimes it has to be a pragmatic performance because of what you have available to you at the time. United didn't have their best squad available. I'm okay with United playing this way until they fix that squad. I don't want that to be the way United go into big games next season. I expect Mourinho to go out this summer and sign the players that United need to make sure that that's not the way they're going into big games. where United are the spoiler. I don't want to see that. I want to see United go out into these big games and impose themselves on games and let their talent do the talking, and not be the one that kills the game and hopes to nick the game on a counter attack. That's not Manchester United. And United had no outlet ball. I would disagree in that you can't criticise anyone. I think Mkhitaryan and Martial didn't do enough to give United an outlet ball. They gave possession away far too often. Every time the ball came up, it came right back at United because there was long, hopeful balls knocked into the corners, or they'd lose the ball as soon as it came to their feet. They were running down dark alleys, and the ball was just coming right back at United. So for me, I think although they had defensive responsibilities, they didn't do enough for me to give United an outlet ball and to give them any attacking threat second half. Once Fellaini gets sent off, only one team can win the game. Yeah. So for me, it's just so disappointing with Fellaini sending off and the way United's front three played. Maybe not so much Rashford, but certainly Martial and Mkhitaryan. I think they didn't do enough to give United any outlet.
Well, yes and no. First half, if you notice, they did something very clever with that front three. They were constantly interchanging and found themselves in that in your stereotypical number 9 position. Just took shifts, constantly switching. The three of them constantly shifting, which A, gave the City defence a different look, and B, gave that number 9 guy a little bit of a breather, because our wide men were constantly having to track back and defend. You look, Martial was defending more than the time he was attacking. You could tell his body language wasn't exactly thrilled with it. And if there's going to be a criticism, is that yes, our wide two of the front three are being asked to do so much defensive work in this game that really there was no opportunity to find them out high and wide, because they were starting 20, 30 yards deeper than they originally should.
No, I agree with that. When you pick the ball up that deep, the likelihood is, especially if you've no outlet ball ahead of you, you're going to lose the ball. And maybe Mourinho deserves criticism for that, because there was no reason why United needed to play the second half that deep, why United needed to turn around the City and say, do you know what? City's defensively had nothing to worry about with United. They could only draw the game at worst. And so there was nothing coming back at them. There was no reason why United needed to sit that deep. And so for me, if that sending off happens in the 50th minute, maybe I understand it.
Then we're in trouble.
Say, okay, fine. Mm-hmm. But for 45 minutes, a Man City team that leaks goals more, I wanted to see United go at them, because I think they were there for the taking. And as we saw in the first half, United created chances when they attack City. Yeah. And I understand it's pragmatic. You want to take a point, and it's not. Look, this is still the longest unbeaten run of any top-flight team in Europe, and so Mourinho deserves enormous credit for what he's done with United, especially with the limited squad. But I will say is, Darmian is not a footballer I particularly rate. I thought he played well tonight. I thought he did okay. I think he's there's a couple of players there that might be playing their way into a squad next season. Maybe not starting 11, but a squad. And Darmian might be one of those that escapes, just simply because United need to make 4 or 5 changes in other key positions, and they won't want to keep bringing in 6, 7, 8. He might get done on the next go-around.
Well, firstly, I think Martial deserves huge credit for part of Darmian's performance. The coverage that Martial gave Darmian helped him a great deal. Thought he did a lot of his work for him. But yeah, I thought Darmian was very good. I see now what Jose feels about Luke Shaw, in that in a game that we know we're not going to be pressed defensively as hard as a Man City would or a Chelsea would. He's going to go with a more defensive fullback. When he knows he can attack, then it's going to be a Luke Shaw. So there's where the situation lies with Luke Shaw as we speak. Defensively he doesn't trust him. So I mean, unless a Mendy comes in, then having said that, I mean, Darmian can play on the right as well. So you could be right. I think he's proved that he's got a position in there. I think he's proved he could be a very, very good squad player. I don't think any of these performances, barring Valencia, is going to change anybody's mind about us bringing in another fullback.
Look, Mourinho is prioritising midfield and up front, right? So, and you can see so blatantly obvious the positions United are lacking. They need badly a defensive midfielder. They need a potent goal scorer. They need a goal scorer that's going to take 2 out of 3 chances. They need somebody like that. That will come in the summer. I still think they will get Champions League football this summer. And I think that this summer they're going to spend a lot of money bringing in players that will fix the Mourinho's got his signings right for me, Martin. Bailly, magnificent, just pure silk. What a defender! Physically, a specimen, brilliant on the ground, positional class. He's quick. He is, for me, one of the best defenders I've said. That he's almost like a young Rio Ferdinand to me. Bit smaller, but fantastic. Just a pure silk defender. When Rio first came to United, he had to cut out a lot of the individual mistakes, but he's already past that level. He's just I keep looking at him going, is he really only 23? He's 23, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing about him too, he's hard as nails, man. He's got the Vidic in him as well. He's got a little bit of both of those boys in him. So a wonderful, wonderful sign and proving, and don't underestimate the fact that he's had to play with several different centre backs, which is not easy. And he kind of gets into that groove with whoever's put beside him. Well, I thought Daley Blind was good today again. I mean, not a huge fan of Blind at centre back, but I thought he did it defensively. I thought it was superb today. We've only conceded 5 goals in 2017. I mean, look, there's a reason we're undefeated in 24 games, and you can look at all the draws, but I think it's slightly underestimated. It's difficult, being hard to beat is key. And when Jose clearly prioritises the positions that you've just mentioned, clearly we don't score enough goals. So if we don't score enough goals, we've got to make sure we're solid at the other end. A Man City team that scores a lot of goals, and to completely, more or less, let's say, nullify that threat, and the same against Chelsea the other way. I mean, defensively, Jose gets his tactics spot on. If we can add a couple of pieces now, I do believe. And you know what I liked about today with that front starting 3 is the fact I just mentioned, the interchangeability, the fact it's so fluid. You add a Griezmann to that, somebody who can float amongst the positions. Rashford, we know, can go both ways wide. It becomes very, very difficult to defend. And, I think we see a better Pogba next season as well, even though Pogba's done decent stuff. I think we see a better Pogba. I think we see a settled Herrera. I think we see a team with a better holding midfield, and Carrick isn't relied upon as much.
Well, every top team is built from the back out, and you cannot have a great team without having a great defense. So Mourinho's building that team, getting the first thing right, defending, which, look, that people say it's easier to defend than it is to attack, but not as a unit. And for the way United are defending right now as a team is encouraging. Look, if what we saw today is what happens in every big game, that's going to be really disappointing going forward. But I think Mourinho will get the players that he wants this summer for the most part, which United are already well on their way to doing. I don't want to see a summer protracted where they're chasing big name players that they've got a 1 in a million shot of getting. I think United will be more pragmatic about that and make sure that the players that they want will be locked down early. They're already well on the Griezmann trail, as we've seen. They like Bellotti. They've scouted him quite a bit. But the midfielders, there's, the Monaco, we know, are a selling club. But for United to get these players that they want, I know this Vincent Rodriguez lad said that Champions League is not important to Griezmann. That goes against just about everything that I've been told.
Yeah.
And so that will be important. So all in all, 0-0, not the result United wanted, but it's a result that keeps United in the hunt for that top 4, and really keeps United and City in the hunt for that top 4.
Well, that's just it. That's just it.
Over Liverpool.
Well, that's just it. United don't get anything from that game today. We're pretty much putting our hopes on chasing Liverpool down. A point in that gives us, keeps Liverpool in the mix there, keeps City in the mix, and keeps us hot on both their trails, and gives us 2. I mean, it's going to be 2. I mean, Arsenal now only 4 points behind us with a game in hand. So, Arsenal are by no means out of that race, but you would imagine at this point it's any 2 from those 4. City, Liverpool, United, Arsenal. With us having that game in hand now, Sunday is a big, big game. We get 3 points there. Do we play before Liverpool? I'm not sure.
United play Sunday against Swansea.
So Liverpool have already played, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, 2 points behind them, game in hand. We have to win that game in hand, go above Liverpool. It's still in our hands. Granted, we've got some very, very tough fixtures coming up, but the fixtures the others have come up have been the fixtures that they've struggled in. So,
and I'm being told that Timothy Fosu-Mensah is injured.
He looked like at the very end of the game he was holding his shoulder. Something happened at the last corner kick of the game.
So, well, we'll see. Hopefully not. All right, folks, we'll leave it there. We'll catch you again after we'll catch our Danny Higginbotham show on every week on our podcast, and myself and Martin will be back next week with actually tomorrow. We're recording a podcast tomorrow, so we'll give a little bit more in-depth response to this, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.